Recently, I told you that I had done a hair analysis and had blood drawn and did some testing. I had my first consultation with the doctor. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed. I've been talking about it and really talk about the benefits. Now, in the weeks to come, I'm going to go over the different areas and that we discuss because I think it's so key to our health, and it talks about the importance of our health. So I did put a link. It's to my YouTube channel. That way you can make sure and catch those if you haven't subscribed. But anyway, one of the things I found out, my copper levels were super high. So there was some copper toxicity. But our bodies need to be in balance. You know, we hear a lot about they're out of balance, hormones out of balance, all these different things. But balance is so critical because when one area is too high, it's going to affect others and cause others to be too low. And that's when we start having deficiencies. I'll give you an example. In my case, my copper levels were really high and my zinc levels were really low. And so one of the things that he wants me to start doing is bringing the zinc levels up as I start removing some of this copper out of my body. Now, again, I'm just going to hit on this briefly, but again, come back. But you say, where is this copper coming from? Well, first of all, it's an essential mineral, a trace mineral that our body needs. It's good. When you're pregnant, it helps with the fetal development, helps with our bones, our immune system. So these are essential, which means we need them. The problem is when we get in excess. And part of the problem is copper is in so many things. But I was just sort of feeling a little run down and thinking it wasn't a big deal, you know, taking all these different supplements, but then asking myself, how do I know I'm taking the right amounts? And that's when I finally said, you know, I'm going to bite the bullet and just do this because there's no point in me taking things I don't need. And so the copper, first of all, most of our pipes are copper, water pipes running through your home. That's not something that we can just overnight change. But what we have to do is concentrate on the things that we can. So for example, the copper pipes, copper in our cookware. I remember as a newlywed having, I think they were Paul Revere ware. I loved those pots. They had the copper bottom. So again, it can be in so many things. Tap water. Now, most of us say, well, I don't drink tap water. I use filtered water. But how often do we, when we're eating out, is that water filtered? Maybe not. Probably not. Things that are in restaurants, the water they use to cook things. So we're getting it without even realizing it. So again, what do? We need to take some definite precautions. Medications is a big one. I mentioned the need of copper for women when they're pregnant for the development of the fetus. So copper is often in prenatal vitamins. It's often in multivitamins and supplements. So we're getting way more than we're actually needing. And the problem is if we're getting more than we need, it's got to go somewhere. And what isn't excreted out gets absorbed into the body. It often goes to the liver, it goes to the brain, it goes to the reproductive organs. And especially if you tend to be high in the estrogen, it's going to cause all kinds of hormonal imbalances, and it can lead to so many different things. Starts to affect the thyroid, the adrenals. So again, if you're feeling tired, that's another key. Now, does it guarantee that this is the problem? No. But again, until we know, and this is not, please hear me, this is not a bash against doctors. They're just not trained. They will often say, we weren't trained in this to really understand how, you know, all of these different minerals work together. That's a whole science in itself. And so you need to find, if you're interested and you think, could I have an imbalance? I'll be talking in the weeks to come about some of the other ones. I was high in arsenic. We think of poisoning someone. My ferritin levels were really low. Okay, so let's talk about food. One of the biggies is chocolate, and I am definitely a chocoholic. Now, I like very dark chocolate, but it's in chocolate nonetheless. Okay. Some of the other things, liver, it's in a lot of nuts and seeds, grains, and so all of a sudden, mushrooms. So a lot of these are good things. But again, they're good. But on the other hand, if you are eating a lot of these certain foods, even though they're good, and you're getting it in the water, and you're getting it in your supplements, do you see the potential for becoming toxic? So, as I said, I'm not going to dive too much today, but it is something that you definitely want to make sure that you are not necessarily doing alone. I think the food things, it's okay to start, saying, I think I'll stay away from that. So lately, I've not been eating chocolate. And that's the other thing. This starts to affect your brain. Because again, that's where the overload goes: the liver, the brain, the reproductive organs. So when it goes to the reproductive, you're talking about potential for a lot of different cancers, PCOS, PMS, a lot of hormonal things. Goes to the thyroid. It's definitely going to be affecting how you feel, metabolism, your brain. It's going to affect, lack of concentration, brain fog, potential ADD, ADHD, as well as mental issues of bipolar and anxiety, depression, and a lot of these things. So, again, just food for thought. If you've been dealing with something that the doctors are throwing up their hands and saying, we've run every test possible, nothing is coming back, I have no clue, I can't help you, or they're wanting to put you on some really heavy duty drugs, and something in you is saying, I really don't want to go that way, consider having tests done.